Okay, you guys, I am so excited to be making this video today. I'm going to be talking about king worship and how this one practice is completely changing my relationship. And even having the idea to be in a practice like this has dramatically shifted how my partner and I relate. So when I thought of making this video, I was like, worship, there's so much energy tied up in the word worship, especially through a religious context. And I want to break down the idea of the word worship and why I've chosen to worship my man, why I've chosen to worship my partner wholly, fully, and completely. And so when I looked up the etymology of the word worship, it says acknowledgement of worth, giving value to something or honor shown to an object, worth-ship. And that's exactly how I want to express my love for my partner. I want to be in such respect and adoration and love and admiration for him that through my reflection, through my love, he becomes even more aware of his worth. He becomes even more aware of his value inherently in the world and to me. And so the other night, I blocked Ani, my partner's calendar, off from like 4 p.m. through the rest of the night. And on the calendar, I put a block called King Worship. And I'm going to share with you exactly how I honored my partner in that time, what came up for both of us, and why this one act is moving mountains in our relationship. Because ultimately, what I want to do is not only use this as a place to express how freaking awesome this was for both of us, but I'd like to paint a picture of what's possible for everyone should they choose this path of love, this kind of love for themselves. And of course, remix this however you like if you try this out with a partner that you're dating or a partner that you're in relationship with. So what I did the other night, and I'll define what king worship is to me, is it's a space of unconditional love, giving, and honoring to my man. That there is a space of time that is just for him, where I take care of all of my own needs should I have them, and where I take care of his needs. Because how seldomly do men walk through the world being able to receive? Most often, men show up in providership. They provide for themselves, they provide for others in their lives, and for most men, this is just how they're wired biologically, and this is a beautiful part of their essence. But how seldomly do men get to walk through the world and ask someone, what would you like? What do you need? What do you desire? How are you feeling? How can I serve you? How can I support you? And by showing up for my man in this way, he is exalted to be even more of who he is. And he shows up in even deeper providership in the relationship. Now, I don't do this for that. I do this because I love him and I want to respect and admire and adore him. And I notice the byproduct of worshiping him, the byproduct of respecting him and lathering love on him, is that he becomes even more of the man that he is meant to be. So that's how I'm defining king worship in this context. Now, let me just make a little tangent here and share that when I worship my man, I'm not pedestalizing him. I'm not putting him above me and saying he's better and I'm less than, or he's one up and I'm one down. I played that game for most of my life. I pedestalized a lot of people, particularly men, and that creates distortion in the dynamic. When I say I worship my king, I worship my man, it is a deep reverence, a posture of bowing down. And I kid you not, I love bowing at my man's feet. I bowed to him the other day. I got down on my knees. I put my hands on the top of his feet and I kissed each foot and I said, I adore you. I adore you so much. I honor you. I respect you. I worship you. And ladies, I will tell you what this does for a man is there are no words for how a man feels when we honor and respect them in this way. Now, of course, I bow to my man in honor and respect because he has proven that he's worthy of this in our relationship. He has proven time and time again. Thank you for that comment. He's proven time and time again he's worthy of my respect and my adoration and my love and my commitment. So this is what I mean by king worship. Now, I'll share with you what I included in my king worship ceremony to my man the other night. So a few days prior, I blocked off his calendar from 4 p.m. into the night so that we had epic amounts of space and time to just unravel. Because how often do we feel scheduled and crunched and limited for time? And I'm like, there's nothing that you're going to do. You're not going to lift a finger. I got you. I'm going to take care of you. And so we started the ceremony. I had all the lights in the house lit. We have these red lights. I had a playlist selected. I laid out a beautiful blanket on the bed. And I guided him to lay down and relax and to set an intention. What I did was I created a container. The way the masculine typically creates a container for the feminine to surrender into, to unravel into, I created a container for him. So there was kind of a polarity reversal in this context, and that's completely okay. I took on more of the masculine role of creating a container and setting the context and holding the time, holding the agenda, holding if the playlist was good or not, if he needed water. And this is a beautiful, appropriate time for me to consciously step into masculine and to allow him to surrender into his feminine. For most men, this is actually a very uncomfortable experience because men aren't often given the opportunity to surrender, to relax. Men are always watching what's happening. You can be on a date with a man at a restaurant. He's probably already sussed the exits. He's noticing what's happening at this table, what's happening over there, because he is hardwired to protect and keep us safe. So we're sitting here and I am creating this container for him. So I am asking him to set an intention. What do you need? And I'm guiding him to take a deep breath and to relax, to feel the bed supporting him underneath him, to surrender and let go of the day. I'm guiding him through breath, to take slow, deep breaths. Now, at this point in the weekend, he was getting over a bit of a flu, so he was congested. I was guiding him to relax into the congestion, to let it be there, really guiding him into a deep level of presence with what is. And then I proceeded into giving him body work. And I know all the places in his body, from his forehead to his neck, to his chest, to his arms, to his hands, to his stomach, to his quads, where he likes to be touched, how he likes to be touched. And I said, if there's anything you need, let me know. I've got you covered. If you need water, if you need a tissue, if you need a moment to take a break, I've got you covered. So what I did in this experience was I made sure I took care of all of his needs for the duration of this experience so that he can completely relax, surrender, and let go. And then I lathered praise on him. So one of the things that my man has yearned for most is acknowledgement about his experience. Now, he doesn't need it. And for some of you who have been following our journey, you know that the first few years of our relationship, I've shared, we had a lot of challenges. We experienced a lot of challenge in our dynamic. We were working through some really dense wounds that we both brought to the relationship. And I was working through a lot of resistance, a lot of narratives of disrespect. And I was working through a lot. And during that time, he held the vision for our relationship. No matter how wild and out I got, no matter how much I pushed back and resisted and just took off all the masks, and sometimes I got nasty, he held the vision. He was steadfast. Even in moments when he probably wanted to leave my ass or break up or get the heck out of Dodge, ultimately he never did. He always chose to stay, and he chose to hold the bar higher. He chose to stay steadfast in his values. He chose to say, hey, listen, this is the vision I have for us. This is where we're going. Hop on the train or hop off, because this is where I'm going in life. And he really had a standard, and he stuck to it. And he also created epic amounts of space for me to be in my process, even when he didn't know when I was going to be done with my process. And that takes such an unconditional amount of patience and love and fortitude to be able to stick with someone while they're in their process. So in that moment, I took this opportunity to lather appreciation on him and say things like, I appreciate you so deeply for how you never wavered in your values, for how you never bought any of my bullshit, for how you held me to a standard that helps me reach my potential and embody my potential. No matter if I fought tooth and nail, if I got wild with things, if I pushed you away, if I pushed back, if I told you to go fuck yourself, like no matter what it was, there was this steadfastness that he embodied. And that is what caused him to earn my respect and my trust. Because no matter what happened, he was like rock solid there. He was not giving up. And he also shared his standards and values. So he was holding a very high standard for both of us. And so I took these moments while I was providing body work, while I was guiding him to breathe, to pour out love and affection and adoration for who he has been to me, for who he is in the world. And this for a man is so replenishing, because also, how seldomly do men receive just a lathering and outpouring of love for who they are, for how they show up, for the hard work that they do in the world, in our relationships, for the safety that they can often provide, for the provision that they offer. It's so easy and simple to overlook these things. And yeah, they're not provided acknowledgement for this very often. And so when a man receives even just a bit of this, every man that I've ever seen receive adoration or acknowledgement, it just fills his well. And gosh, how much more resourced he is to do what he naturally does, which is provide and protect and serve in the ways that he so deeply desires to. So I did that, and then I held space for my man's experience. What he shared with me was, it's really uncomfortable to be in receiving position right now. He's so used to providing for me. And let me tell you, he goes over the top to provide in ways that I could not even give voice to in terms of the value that he provides in our relationship. And he shared how uncomfortable it was for me to be providing for him in this experience. And so I held space for that. And I said, tell me about it. How does it feel in your body? What does it bring up for you? We breathed through it together. And it was a beautiful experience of intimacy and touching discomfort and touching stickiness and crunchiness. And then I guided him to stretch. I guided him to, really be in his body during this experience. And one of the things that came through for me in this was, how beautiful is it that our relationship is an opportunity for us to recite the other person's poetry back to them. And I meant that literally, because at one point in this experience, I broke out in some of my own spoken word poetry. And as I started to share it, he was repeating it with me. He knows my poems because I've read them to him so many times. But metaphorically speaking, our relationships are an opportunity to see the beauty and the poetry in our partner and reflect that back to them through our expression of love. And how beautiful is it that I get to recite his poetry back to him. He gets to recite my poetry back to me. And that is a part of the essence and the flavor of our relationship. And this can happen in so many ways. Yes, you can literally recite poetry to someone, But it can also be, for me, it's bowing down to kiss his feet. I recite to him through my reverence for him how much I love him and how much he means to me. I may share words of affirmation. I may provide body work and a neck rub. And I'm just reciting back to him through my expression of love, his value. And one of the big messages that came through in this was, how beautiful is it that it gets to be this good all of the time? I get to have it this good all of the time. And this was a huge revelation for me, because as a woman who lived most of my life thinking that intimacy meant conflict, connection, fighting, separation, and then coming back together and not really talking through things, but pretending like everything's okay, and avoiding conflict and people pleasing and all the things that I saw in my household growing up, to have the deep embodied sense in that moment, holy shit, it gets to be this good all of the time. We get to have intimacy, connection, love all of the time. There doesn't have to be separation, even when there's difficulty, even when there's challenge. We can navigate challenge in connection. We can navigate our differences through being connected. And so there doesn't have to be these rifts that we used to experience where there would be icing each other out, coldness, conflict. Now there gets to be working through things while in connection and while experiencing intimacy with each other. So I had this revelation, and it was paradigm shifting for me. So I want to talk about what my old reality looked like, and this is what so many people's reality looks like when it comes to intimacy and relationships, unless you are one of the minority who's actually done a lot of inner work to work through some of the conditioning that's been imprinted onto us, the narratives and ideas about how love and relationships are. For me, the old way of doing intimacy was fighting in conflict in between having moments of connection, but often there was conflict and separation. I didn't believe that there was any other way to have intimacy and connection than how I saw my parents do it, which is lots of conflict, and then maybe talking through things, but probably not, just deciding to kind of get over it, but holding on to resentments, and then waiting, like having periods of relative peace until there's the next moment, the next opportunity that we can use to close. Something that my partner says to me that has really stuck with me, and I didn't know what it meant until recently, is every opportunity, every experience in life is an invitation to either open or to close. We get to choose how we experience that moment. Are we going to open deeper into love for ourselves, with someone else, or are we going to close and shut down? Now, of course, this is barring extreme circumstances where there is a rightful instance in which we close to protect ourselves, but most instances don't actually warrant closing. So I didn't believe that I could have it any other way. And often in my relationship with him, I would reject receiving from him. I would reject his provision because I didn't feel I was worthy of receiving it. And it felt really uncomfortable to receive to the level that he was providing. And now that I have cultivated the capacity inside of myself to begin receiving him, his gifts, his provision, his guidance, his leadership, his direction more fully, I'm like, holy shit, no wonder I had a hard time with this before. He's got a lot to give. My partner is like boundless in his provision, in his love for me. And it requires a cultivation of capacity, because something they don't tell you in the rom-com movies and in the fairy tales is that holding the energy of love requires a cultivated, fortified container. This is not just some willy-nilly, like sunshine and rainbows all the time. It's that, and it's also cultivating a deep capacity for pleasure, for pain, for all of the things. And in truth, it's all the same thing. But in order to receive the fullness of love that we desire, it requires us cultivating a huge capacity to experience ourselves as love and to be able to feel and receive love from others. And at previous points in my relationship with my partner, I didn't have the capacity. I hadn't cultivated the capacity to do that. So the last thing I'll say here on my old paradigm of love was that I thought I needed to prove myself. I needed to work hard, prove myself, earn love, keep love, hustle, go, burn myself out, because that was a part of my conditioning as a child. And so in my relationship, I thought, how do I do more? How do I do more? How do I be more than what I already am, who I already am? Because fundamentally, I was operating from this one down paradigm with myself, that I wasn't already good enough as I was. And so with that way of thinking, then I'm always looking for how to work harder, do more, be more. And I will tell you, if you are a woman that's watching this and you are dating men or in relationship with men, and this probably transcends gender identification, if you are a feminine essenced being and you like being with those who have a more masculine essence, they don't want you to do more. They don't need you to do more. When they are in their true embodiment, they actually want for you to do less. They want for you to be more. Not be more of who you are, but just be more of the time. In fact, my partner wants me to do less. He doesn't need me to do all the things all the time. He appreciates it. But if it's going to come at the cost of my radiance, of my vibrancy, of my level of restedness and groundedness inside of myself, then he'd say, fuck it, don't do it. Pay somebody else to do it or let it go undone. And I could not understand this for the longest time because I'm like, I've got to prove myself. I've got to prove myself. And in this process of unraveling all the narratives that I held about love, about needing to prove myself and prove my worthiness and earn validation and approval, in unraveling all of that, I realized I really don't need to do anything. If I just showed up fully as who I am to my partner, that would be so much more than enough for him. And that completely unwinds the paradigm that so many of us have been operating in when it comes to dating, love, and relationships. And I see that there are some questions in the chat, so I'll answer those in a moment. What I want to share real quick is what this new paradigm of love offers. How I show up in my relationship now is from a place of peace, love, and connection. Even in challenging moments, I have cultivated the ability to regulate and navigate the experience I'm having inside of myself, the emotions, the sensations, the thoughts, the stories, the projections, and keep that as separate from the truth of what's actually happening in the situation. And I'm able to give voice to those things. I'm able to speak up for my needs. I'm able to ask questions where I think I'm making assumptions so that I can really get on the same page with my partner. This one thing alone allows us to keep intimacy and connection and closeness alive, even if we're having a disagreement, even if there's tension in the room or in our bodies, even if we haven't quite landed on the same page yet. And I'm in the place now where I know in my body that it can be this good all of the time. Because through my own inner work, I've cultivated the ability to be with what's happening inside of me and contain it and not spill it out or project it out onto him or into the relational space. This is a ninja level skill that we all have the ability to cultivate. And this is what I teach women to do inside of my mentorship program, inside of our relationship school, because this is what allows us to have the intimacy we deeply desire, is learning to cultivate the ability to hold and contain our experience, to communicate it, and to hold space for the experience of our partner. And then I've learned to slow down, to slow way down. And I had to learn to hold space for all the discomfort that came up for me in the slowing down, because when we slow down, we feel it all. And sometimes feeling the things feels very uncomfortable, which is why we speed up. It's why we drink coffee. It's why we turn to technology. It's why we turn to food and substances and sex and distractions to avoid feeling. Because feeling it feels like a lot. However, when we take little steps each day to open into more and more feeling, we open more and more to ourselves. Unless we learn to feel what's here for us, we're not going to be able to fully feel and receive the love our partner provides. And we're not going to fully be able to feel ourselves as love. So I've learned to slow down, do less, and be more of the time. And these are the teachings that I know that I'm here to bring to the world, that I know I'm here to bring to women and couples. So before I go into sharing my vision for what's possible for both men and women, I want to just check in the chat and see the question here. So what if you're on the other end? What if you're the one who provides the love, but the person can't take it? How do you deal with that? How do you keep loving them? Jimena, first of all, so great to see you. This is a great question. So this was my partner for a very long time. I was the one who had a very hard time receiving his love, and he had so much love to give. And often the space that he provided for me was so beautiful. When he would see that I would become uncomfortable receiving because I would make a facial expression, I would kind of turn away, I would change the subject, I would discount things and say, no, it's okay. I would literally reject his provision. He would stop, he'd slow down, and he'd say, what's coming up for you right now? What's here for you? How are you feeling? I love you. I don't expect or need anything from you. And then he would pull me into his chest and he would hold me tight. He'd kiss my forehead and he'd say, I got you. It's okay. And so there's this beautiful way that if we are the ones in the relational dynamic, in that moment where we perceive we have a greater access to our capacity than the other person, we might just slow everything down, meet them where they're at and say, what's coming up for you right now? How can I be here with you? How can I support you exactly where you are? I don't need you to be anywhere else, and I have no needs of you. I love you. So try that out and then DM me and let me know how that goes. So what I want to close with here is what's some charges, some invitations for both men and women. And again, I realize that I am making very gendered recommendations here. You can take this on as a man or a woman. You can also take this on as someone who identifies with more feminine energy or someone who identifies with more masculine energy. For the women who are watching, I want you to know that what I described in this live, if you didn't watch the whole thing, go back and start from the beginning. I promise you it's worth it. It is absolutely possible and beyond possible for love to feel this good, for you to experience such deep levels of intimacy, such deep levels of connection. And really what I'm pointing to is such a deep level, fundamental level of okayness inside of yourself. Like the stance that you take is like, damn, I'm good. No matter what the fuck craziness is happening in the world around me, I'm solid. I am my own secure home. I am my own safe space. When we feel that on a cellular level to the core of our being, because we make it safe inside of ourselves to feel the things we're feeling, to think the things we're thinking, we hold ourselves accountable, we have healthy boundaries, all skills that can be cultivated, by the way. This is all available to you wherever you're watching from. When we do that, love and intimacy gets to be the most poetic, exquisite experience of life. This is what all the greats, all the poets, all the philosophers are talking about. They didn't talk about this because this is for some elite group of people that goes off and lives in a forest cabin and writes poetry. You can be a city dweller, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a mom of 3, you can be a single mom, you can be, I don't care who you are, where you are, what your life circumstances are, this is for you. And I am so clear and confident in that. The second, invitation that I have for those of you who are women here and who identify with feminine energy is become unrelenting with yourself. This is the path that I walked to inhabit the embodiment that I inhabit now, that allows me to experience the level of intimacy that I experience now with myself and my partner. In all of the moments when I wanted to jump ship on myself, when I wanted to drown in the shame, in the embarrassment, in the guilt, in the narratives of not good enough, can't have this, not worthy, too much, I had to find some shred of unrelenting energy inside of myself to pull myself up by the bootstraps and be like, all right, babe, hop back on the horse. We're doing it again. Sometimes I would let myself drown in the shame for 5 minutes, for a day, for a week. And then I would wipe my tears, love myself through it, and fucking do it again. Find this place of unrelenting energy inside of yourself. I promise you it will be the greatest gift that you give to yourself. And then open your heart to yourself and to the people who have shown you that they've earned your trust and your open-heartedness, and do it over and over and over again. Even in the hardest moments, when you want to shut down, when you want to push away, when you want to pull away, open your heart. Again, this is barring extreme circumstances where it would be very reasonable for you to close off and protect yourself. I'm not talking about those instances. I'm saying in the day-to-day, when something feels triggering, when someone said something that rubbed you the wrong way, look for an opportunity to open to yourself, even if you don't open to them. Like I said before, every experience in life is an opportunity to open or to close. Which invitation are you going to take? And then slow down, breathe, and be in your body. Make it safe to be in your body. If we're always rushing through the day, planning ourselves back to back, like running around like headless chickens, thinking that we need to do more to prove ourselves, there's going to be no space to be in our bodies. And as women, that is one of our greatest gifts, is to be embodied in our bodies. So much of our wisdom and our intelligence and our intuition and our gut instinct resides in our bodies, in our womb, in our hearts. There are so many quiet whispers that are always yearning to share what the next step is, what to do in a given situation, how to open our hearts more. Unless we take radical responsibility and agency over making it safe to be in our bodies, we're not going to hear those whispers. So as women, if we can take one meeting off our calendar that day, if we can decide to not check that email before bed and instead take a hot shower, even small things, small hinges swing big doors. 1% shifts every day can create a massive transformation over time. So how can we make it safe to be in our bodies? Now, if you're watching this as a man or someone who resonates with more masculine energy and you want to experience the kind of intimacy that I described in this live, then here are some recommendations, invitations. Take them or leave them. Have a strong vision and values that support your vision. So have a clear vision for what you want for your life, how you want to feel, who you want to be, how you want to know yourself, the character you want to cultivate as a man. And then have values that support you bringing that vision to fruition. And if there's already a partner in your life, or as one comes into your life, enroll your partner into that vision and make sure they are aligned with it. Not that they have to abide by every part. They will probably have a vision for themselves. But as the male counterpart in the relationship, likely, not always, but likely, you are going to play the role of visionary and leader. Now, again, your partner can be a visionary. They can also be a leader. But there is something that is really balanced in a dynamic between a masculine essence being and a feminine essence being, where when the masculine has really created a vision and has earned the feminine's trust, then the feminine will surrender to the leadership and the direction and the vision of the masculine. And for most of us, not all of us, for most of us as women, that's how we prefer it. As a very strong-minded, strong-willed woman, I love that my partner has a vision. I don't want to have to think about it all the time. Like, he's earned my trust over and over and over again. I surrender to his vision and leadership, and I still get to have individual visions for myself. So for the men, have a strong vision and values that support that vision. Be unwavering. Be unwavering in your values, in your vision. One of the things that supported me so much in my unbecoming all the things I was not to become the woman that I really am was that my partner was so unwavering in his values that there were times, I shit you not, where he said to me, Lee, right now, here's what I'm seeing. My values are up here and yours are down here. I am not going to belittle my values or shrink my values to meet you where you're at. So here's the option. You either expand to meet me on this level where my values are, or we renegotiate how we're relating. Doesn't mean the relationship's going to end, but we got to come up with a new agreement. And at first, my ego didn't like that. I'm like, bro, go fuck yourself. This was the past me speaking when I had attitude for days. But in the next moment, I was like, yo, that's for real. I trust you. Because I can't pull a fast one on you. I can't get away with playing small. Not only can I not play small, but you're going to see that I'm playing small and you're going to be like, girl, let's go. Step up or step out. That is what caused me to trust my partner. He was unwavering and unrelenting in his vision and values for his life and for me as his partner. And as much as I fought him tooth and nail in some moments, he was like, Lee, I promise you, if you learn to expand your visions and value for yourself, you're going to feel better for it. I would never lead you astray. So doing this is going to benefit you. So why would you push back? Stop resisting and just live your best life already. And so that's just an invitation for the men. The other thing that my partner really did that was really helpful that men can take on if they choose is communicate your intentions and don't take things personally. Boy, my partner had communicated his intentions so many times where he was like, Lee, I'm doing this for us. It's for you. This is going to help you. He always communicated how he was acting, what he was doing was for the best for me. Because in moments, I forgot that. My ego took over and I was like, bro, fuck this, I'm out. He was like, Lee, I promise you, I have a vision for us. I've got a vision. Can you trust me? And he would say, I have a vision. I have a vision. And little by little, that would allow me to surrender. I'm like, oh, he knows where we're going. He has an idea. I don't have to figure this out. I don't have to freak out. He communicated the intention and he didn't take things personally. There were moments where he did, but by and large, when I would be wilding out in my attitude and my pushback and my resistance, he anchored down into his truth even more. And he was like, you can come at me if you want, but I'm here. So, you can either keep expending your energy and wasting your time, or you can just hop on board and we can live our dream life. So if you need to tire yourself out, go for it. But I'm going to be over here doing my thing. So love to have you join me. He didn't take it personally. And he invited me. Not only did he not take it personally, he didn't shut me out. He was like, baby girl, come on, let's go. It's time to party. And he reminded me of the vision over and over again. And then the last thing, invitation for men is go beyond the limited self. Really, really learn every day about who you are and what you stand for, and find ways to go beyond the conditioning or limitations that you might have been conditioned with. And I'm giving all of this advice unsolicited, but as things that my partner did that helped me as a woman trust him and surrender to him, to the point where what I started this live with was how I worshiped him the other night, how I created a sacred ceremony of worship for him where I bowed down at his feet and I kissed them and I told him how much I loved him and admired him and respected him. I gave him body work. I lathered love and praise onto him. I held space for him. All of that was made possible. One, because I chose to forge myself into being that kind of woman, because that's who I want to be. That is not what I saw growing up. I had no real reason to even think this was possible. But I was like, fuck the conditioning, fuck the narratives. I gotta get rid of this shit because it's shit. I love it and I'm ready to let it go. And who my partner has been to me is also what allowed me to become this woman. He has gone beyond his limitations so many times. I have pushed him to his edges. He has pushed himself to his edges, to the point where he was like, I don't think there's any more rope. And he was like, fuck it. If there's no more rope, I'm going to motherfucking weave it myself and I'm going to create it. I'm at the end of the line. I'm going to create more slack. I'm going to create more leeway. I'm going to expand. And that's what it takes for us to grow. We don't just grow when we're comfortable. There's no impetus to grow. So for everyone who's watching now or after the fact, I just want you to know that no matter who you are, how you identify, what your sexual romantic preferences are, what your trauma and wounding is, what your past experiences are like, this level of intimacy is possible for you. And this is truly the next paradigm of love. We're in the midst of some batshit crazy stuff in the world right now. If you turn on the news for 5 minutes, you'll know it. The only way for us to get through and to our next evolution as humans and back to the essence of who we are, which is love, is to do this work on an individual level. That's the only place we have to do it. And then there's a ripple effect. So in summary, what I have created for myself and what I hope for all humans is this ability to feel such a deep fundamental sense of wellness, of wholeness, of well-being, of okayness, of worthiness inside of myself. And when I do that, I naturally let go of all of the other narratives of need to prove myself, need to work hard for love, need to earn validation, not worthy, not enough, too much. And then I get to be in the full receiving of my partner's love, and I get to be in the full giving of the boundless amount of love that I have to give, so that I can worship my man in the way that he deserves to be worshiped and honored and loved and respected and appreciated. All right, that's what I got for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Some of y'all are watching this on Instagram Live. Some of you are going to see this later on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, share. And if any of this supported you, please let me know how. And if you look at the show notes below this video, there are all the links for how you can work with me or work with my partner and I to create this kind of intimacy in your life, whether you're single or partnered. I'm wishing you all so much love and good vibes today.